Our charitable law section in the Attorney General's office has completed its investigation of Planned Parenthood in regard to the question as to whether or not they were selling fetuses or parts of fetuses. Our investigation found no evidence of that in the state of Ohio. There are 3 facilities, Planned Parenthood facilities in Ohio, that do abortions. 1 in Cincinnati, 1 in Columbus, and 1 in Bedford Heights. The investigation also found the following. Columbus and Cincinnati Planned Parenthood facilities dispose of the fetuses through Acu Medical Waste Incorporated, which is based in Marietta. We found that these fetuses were steam cooked and then were taken to a Kentucky landfill. So for Columbus Planned Parenthood, the Cincinnati Planned Parenthood, the fetuses from both of these facilities are taken, first are steam cooked, then they are taken to a Kentucky landfill. In regard to the Bedford Heights facility, Stericycle out of Illinois is the company that they give the fetuses to, transport the fetuses. There is a portion of the contract that the Bedford Heights Planned Parenthood has with Stericycle, which says that Stericycle will not accept fetuses. However, fetuses, we are told by Planned Parenthood's attorney that fetuses are going to Stericycle. We do not know where they end up. We do know that Stericycle has 2 different processes. And what we don't know is what process is used in regard to the fetuses. Stericycle's 2 processes are the steam cooking, and another process is incineration. Let me talk for a moment about Ohio law. Section 3701.341 of the Ohio Revised Code provides that the Director of Health shall adopt rules relating to abortion, specifically the humane disposition of the product of human conception. The department in the Administrative Code in 1975 provided as follows: the fetus shall be disposed of in a humane manner. This morning I sent a letter to the Health Department with a summary of our findings. The Director of Health called me about 2 hours ago and asked us as the attorneys for the Department of Health to apply for an injunction against the 3 Planned Parenthood facilities. Our lawyers are now in the process of preparing the legal action to do this, and when those papers are completed. That legal work is completed. We will be filing in a court of common pleas to seek this injunction. Be more than happy to answer any questions.
Which common pleas court?
It's not been determined.
Attorney General, if there is found to be a violation on the part of the vendor, is it the vendor's responsibility or is it the Planned Parenthood's responsibility?
Well, there is no criminal penalty, nor is there a civil penalty. The remedy under current Ohio law is to seek an injunction. And we would seek the injunction against the facility that performed the abortion. The buck stops with them.
General, did your investigation turn up anything that would indicate Planned Parenthood is doing anything differently with these fetuses than any hospital in Ohio does that also has fetal remains for whatever reason?
We did not investigate any other hospital, in the state of Ohio, so I do not know the answer to that question.
Do you have any evidence that Planned Parenthood is doing anything different than any hospital that has fetal remains it needs to dispose of?
We did not check that. We did not check that. Look, we did an investigation, and as a result of that investigation, this information was disclosed. That was not the initial purpose, but once you get into an investigation, you have to call what you see, and you have to make that known. Look, disposing of fetuses, first cooking fetuses, and then disposing of them in a landfill is not humane. It is. I think it will come as a shock to Ohioans to find out that fetuses are being cooked and then they're being put in a landfill, and they're going to be mixed in with yesterday's garbage and whatever else goes into a landfill.
Since you're interpreting the law, what would constitute a humane form of disposal in this case?
Look, everyone can come up with their own answer to that. I'm not going to list the exclusive areas that would be possible. I believe that the legislature, after having talked to the leaders of the legislature, I think they're going to take some action to prescribe specifically how fetuses should be disposed of. So I will let them do that. That's not my job to do that.
Is there any form of fetus disposal that would be humane in your eyes? Or is this just an attempt to stop all abortions in the state?
No. Look. That was not the purpose. Burial. I would think that the cremation process would be considered humane. I would think that in addition to that, burial would be humane. I'm not going to go through a laundry list of what I think is humane or not. I just tell you that I don't think very many Ohioans will think that cooking a fetuses and putting them in a landfill with your garbage is exactly the right thing to be doing.
Mike, that phrase you're using, steam cooking, is this the liquefaction?
This is the autoclave is the term.
The one where some funeral homes want to or have used that. It's kind of a liquefaction process?
I think that's no. I'm getting no from the team back there. They're telling me no.
Could you describe what you know from your investigation of this process?
Well, let me ask Joe Szymanski to come up here. And Joe, can you come up? That way. He's to my right. Sorry. You want to give him your name so they got it.
My name is Joseph Szymanski. I'm one of the Associate Attorney Generals, Charitable Law Section, Attorney General's Office. I think I heard the question
You know
is...
the answer to the question.
of course, I'm not the health expert, but autoclaving is basically, as the General referred to, in a steaming procedure. What we know is it's essentially a long cylinder. I'm not sure exactly how long it is. Basically, essentially steamed at very high temperatures to kill off infectious waste. Whether it liquefies it or not, I don't believe that is the case. And that's about all I know about the
What
autoclave
would that
procedure.
process be used for other than this? Is that an infectious waste disposal process that you're referring to that they use?
That I don't know the answer to.
Okay.
General, will you seek injunctions against hospitals if it's determined that they're doing the exact same thing?
Look, we're going to take one thing at a time, and what I anticipate is going to happen is the legislature is going to specify specifically the proper disposal of an aborted fetus.
How long has this been going on? How long were these contracts? How frequently was
You might tell them that the scope of our investigation, because that's all we were looking at, is a certain period of time.
Right. The scope of our investigation was just simply whether or not this charitable organization breached its fiduciary duty by perhaps violating the abortion trafficking statute. We only looked at records from, I believe, January 2014 forward. Anything outside of that scope, we cannot answer.
in that time? How often was this a daily pickup or?
Generally weekly records.
And do you know how many fetuses total?
No, we do not.
So this continued from when you started collecting information records?
Well, to answer your question, we only know the records that were publicly disclosed by the Department of Health because they have to keep track of all records, and that's on. You can get that from the Department of Health. Anything beyond that, we don't know.
But as far as, this continued from January 2014 until present?
Correct. Oh, at least on up until we began to conclude our investigation. Yes.
Which was how long ago?
Roughly a month ago, before we started collecting and summarizing things.
Attorney General, you said that this was a violation of a state rule. Is a violation of this rule grounds for closing a facility or taking some other action?
I did not say that. I did not say that. No. We're very simply, we are asking for an injunction to prohibit this disposal. And that's it. It is, we're going into court. We're specifically asking the three Planned Parenthood facilities where they are performing the abortions and the aborted fetus is being disposed in this manner, that they stop doing that. It's a very narrow focus to do specifically that. Nothing more. Well, when our lawyers get it done, we'll give you a copy of it. So, I mean, in essence, we do not believe, and I don't think most Ohioans would believe that this is a proper disposal or if this is a humane disposal.
And to follow up on Jim's question, there's a difference between that and actually needing an injunction against violence of law.
You said that this is a rule that prohibits this form of disposal.
No, you go back. You go back to the original authority that comes to the head of the health department, and that what action or the administrative code that was promulgated comes under his authority. So it is the law. I was playing lawyer to try to separate the administrative versus the statutory, but he has the authority based on the statutory authority that he has to do that, and that has been the law in the state of Ohio since 1975.
But do you believe it could be used as a reason to close a facility?
I did not say that. No, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm asking your opinion.
I'm not. I don't have an opinion. That's not what we're seeking.
Mike,
We're not seeking
it.
it.
Are you talking about, did they, in your opinion, break the law or break the Ohio revised code?
Okay. The law in Ohio, the director of health has the authority to promulgate. I mean, if you go back and look directly at the director of health shall adopt rules relating to abortion. And then specifically it says the humane disposition of the product of human conception. So in a law that dates back to 1975, I believe, he was given that authority. Whoever the director was at that time wrote that. It's been in the administrative code since then. So it's been the law to be followed in this state since 1975. So we would be seeking an injunction based upon that, and our argument will be that this is not a humane practice. The court will ultimately decide whether or not that is humane or whether it is not humane. The court will make its own decision. Simultaneously with this discovery, I informed the state legislatures, legislative leaders. I believe that they've told me that they're planning on taking some action fairly quickly to spell out in more detail specifically what is an acceptable disposal of aborted fetuses. So I think so we're on to two tracks, but
I was struggling when I wrote this earlier to say, is this illegal or is this improper under the code?
okay, well let me refer to several lawyers who are standing back there, and we'll see if any of our lawyers want to take a stab at it. Pete, you want to take a stab at this or not?
You have a choice.
We help.
I'm Pete Thomas, chief of the charitable law section for Attorney General DeWine. Mr. Johnson, what was the question?
Well, it seems like it's a revised code that you cited in your press release, but I see Rich Hodges in his press release said it's illegal, potentially illegal. So is this an illegal matter you're pursuing or a violation of the code, which is code and not law?
It's administrative.
Yeah, administrative code. That's all.
No, I agree with the Attorney General that the rules can only clarify the power given under this revised code. The revised code says he shall promulgate rules regarding humane disposal. That he has done and said it must be done humanely. Whether that is illegal, in my mind, which is just my opinion, something that violates a revised code section, breaks the law.
And also, I think we need to understand
As a civil matter.
there's no criminal penalty here.
Right.
There's no criminal penalty. There's no civil penalty. So the only remedy we can seek is what we are seeking, which is an injunction. I think in the common vernacular, when people say broke the law, most people think, oh, there's a penalty connected with that. So that may not be the most artful way of saying it. And if I said that, I apologize.
If you're seeking this injunction, if you receive this injunction, is that going to include the stoppage of performing the abortion in these facilities?
No, it's not what we're asking for. No, I mean, this is a very narrowly crafted, it will be when our lawyers craft it, very narrowly crafted, asking for an injunction to prohibit them from disposing of aborted fetuses in this manner. And that's all it will be doing.
You talked with the attorney for Planned Parenthood. Is it your understanding that Planned Parenthood knew that these fetuses were going to landfills?
That's my understanding. Joe, you want to take that?
I can't answer the question as to what the attorneys for Planned Parenthood knew. I did,
Planned Parenthood knows what.
but whether or not it ends up in a landfill, we don't know. However, they did indicate to us through their counsel that they give the aborted fetuses, the Planned Parenthood facilities, the aborted fetuses to the AccuWaste company, which ultimately is the company that winds up in the landfill. Again, I can't speak to what their knowledge was as far as the ultimate disposition, but again, as the general said, it is the onus is on the rule. The rule is, if you're going to dispose of a fetus, it must be done in a humane manner.
How do you go about trying to stop this disposal with these 3 Planned Parenthood clinics, yet there could be hospitals across the state using these same companies and the same disposal for fetuses at hospitals?
Well,
How do you apply that selectively?
I only apply it based on what I know, and I'm so this is a very narrow focus. It is a narrow focus. We came up with information that we did not expect in an investigation. We had an obligation, I felt, to do something with that information. We've done 2 things. We informed the Director of Health, and we've informed the state legislature. In regard to what other hospitals are doing, I don't know that. That was not part of the investigation. What I think is going to happen is that the legislature is going to step in, and this matter is going to get resolved, I would think, rather quickly in regard to how, in the state of Ohio, fetuses should be disposed of. So what I would hope is that your question is somewhat academic in the sense that the legislature will take care of this issue.
General, what did you think of the findings in the investigation that Planned Parenthood do not sell fetal tissue or violate the law in that regard?
Our job was to find the facts. Those are the facts, and we have made those facts public today.
General, are there any federal waste disposal issues involved here because of this material could involve Planned Parenthood for the next 4 hospitals? Is there anything that could get in the way of the legislature intervening?
I'm not aware of anything, but we haven't done research on that. I'm not aware of anything that could get in the way of the legislature, deciding that. I mean, this law has been on the books since 1975. Administrative code, I believe, has been in effect since 1975. So this is not exactly a new administrative code or new Ohio Revised Code section. Now, what the court does with this is obviously up to the court. Again, I think what's going to happen is whatever the court does, the legislature is, I would think, going to take some fairly quick action on this. I just don't think Ohioans, thought that fetuses were being disposed of in landfills. I just don't think that's what the average Ohioan thinks. I don't think the average Ohioan wants that. And we're not seeking anything other than an injunction to stop them from doing this.
Did that information come from Planned Parenthood that is their full disposal, or did that information come from the company that disposes?
Well, it came from a combination, and Joe can be specific if you want that, but I mean it is different in each of the cases where the information came from. You want to tell them where it came from?
It came from both Planned Parenthood and AccuWaste. In requesting documents from Planned Parenthood, specifically where do they dispose of their aborted fetuses, they provided to us AccuWaste and Stericycle. One of our investigators spoke with the vice president of AccuWaste, who confirmed AccuWaste, of course, services Central Ohio, Cincinnati, and Columbus, Central Ohio. That confirmed to us that after the autoclaving procedure, the fetuses end up in a landfill. So it was confirmed through a company official.
Mike, I haven't read this whole release, but I saw Planned Parenthood said, not true, shame on the Attorney General for coming up with this conclusion. What's your response?
Wow, I mean, I think the evidence is pretty strong that this is, and it came from, part of it came from Planned Parenthood, that this is how they're being disposed of. So, I mean, look, people shouldn't read any more into this than exactly what we're saying. I think Ohioans will be shocked when they find out tonight that fetuses from abortions are being cooked and then put into landfill to mix in with all the other garbage that's out there. I think it's just wrong. And, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I just think it's just dead wrong.
Do you know whether these two companies also serve other abortion clinics in the state?
I don't know that.
How quickly do you plan to file for these injunctions?
I would anticipate the paperwork will be done by Monday.
Your opponents are saying you're doing this because it's political, that you want to run for governor someday, that you're seizing a political opportunity. To that accurate?
Well, look, we call it like we find it. This is what we found. We found no evidence that Planned Parenthood, any of the 3 sites in the state of Ohio that perform abortions, that any of them are selling fetal tissue or the part of a fetus. That's what we found. We also found that these fetuses are being disposed of in landfills. So we're just saying what happened, what the investigation found. You know, we do investigations in this office every single day, and I'm proud of the team that we have. This is the charitable law team, which doesn't usually stand up here with me. We're usually doing some other section of the office, but they did a good job in the investigation.
But is Ohio actually unique in the way that these Planned Parenthoods dispose?
Oh, I would have no idea.
I mean, you know, 49 other states do Planned Parenthood.
Well, let me just say, let me just make it real clear. If 49 other states Planned Parenthood is doing this in, I still think it's wrong. And I still think it's offensive. And I still think most Ohioans will think it's wrong. And I think the representatives of Ohio through the legislature will take action so that this no longer continues. Anybody else? Okay.
What was the investigation and what type of elements, other than talking about Planned Parenthood
Sure.
and the vendors, what else did you?
Joe, you might as well stay up here. So.
The investigation began late July, early August, so roughly four months. It was basically it's relied on what we had asked from Planned Parenthood, and it's relied on what Planned Parenthood has submitted to us.
What were you asking for?
The records that I referred to early on, disposal companies, and so forth for this issue.
And in the course of the investigation, you also had contact with the disposal companies, too.
Correct. Two officials, one official from each
How did you
AccuWaste.
stumble on this when you were investigating something else?
Just examining the records that Planned Parenthood had provided to us. I mean, we relied on what they gave to us. If they're telling us something different, then it's from what they provided to us, we'll down the road. But based on what we saw in the records, and then of course in talking with the officials about where the fetuses are ultimately disposed of, because the scope, the basic question that we wanted to try and answer is what is happening to the aborted fetuses? Where do they go? Because the question was, are they being sold? So we needed to answer the question, what is happening to them? And that's when we learned that at least some of them are being disposed of in landfills.
Joe, I know it's kind of nitty-gritty, but did you actually visit landfills to see
No.
physical evidence?
No.
You just saw it in the records that they said that's where they
And
were.
with the communication with the AccuMedical Waste official.
General or Joe, does anybody know if the vendors were disposing of these fetuses according to their own rules, whereas Planned Parenthood wasn't aware that they were doing that? In other words, is this a vendor issue? Could this be a vendor issue?
Again, as the general stated, it's the rule is humane disposition of the aborted fetuses. So initially, the responsibility is on Planned Parenthood to ensure that there is a humane disposition. Whether Planned Parenthood knew what Stericycle and AccuMedical Waste were doing with the fetuses, the responsibility ultimately lies.
And you also have the strange thing that if you look at Cleveland and you look at Stericycle, the contract they've signed says no fetuses. They said no fetuses, but yet we know that there are fetuses being disposed there.
And did you say you don't know where those went to? Is that right?
That's
Those from the Bedford Heights?
that's my understanding, right?
Correct.
Just don't know where they went, even though there was a contract.
But the contract said no fetuses, so it's not.
But obviously
There were,
they
yes.
disposed
Yeah.
of somehow.
Yeah, they're disposed somewhere, and we don't know. I mean, we know the two ways they prepare, something for disposal, but we don't know where that disposal is.
Does Kentucky have any rules about this? It's the ones from Columbus and Cleveland were disposed in Kentucky?
I don't think we checked that.
No, we didn't look in the Kentucky law.
Did you? You did?
We did not.
Did not.
We
Okay,
did
did
not look in the
Okay,
Kentucky
did not. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Okay, sir.